Welcome to Esperanto 101, Lesson 3, Correlatives. Or as they're called in Esperanto, tabelvortoj, which means table words. If you've been following around in our document Esperanto in 3 pages, you may have noticed that there is a large chart on page 1 that I have not mentioned at all. That is our table from which the table words, correlatives, derive their name. Now, this table sort of follows its own rules. It's not like the prefixes and suffixes that we talked about in the last video. You can't just add the correlative word beginnings to any other word to make it a question or whatever. And correlative word endings aren't going to be precisely the same way that the regular grammatical endings are. A correlative that ends in U is not going to be a command ever. But they do follow their own rules very, very accurately, and there will never be any real confusion in whether or not a word is a correlative. That should be made immediately obvious, because as I said, no other words are going to use these beginnings, and they're not going to appear in the middle of another word. We will also go over how correlatives do interact with the rest of Esperanto grammar, and a couple of other words that you'll see in conjunction with alongside correlatives in daily use sometimes. So I'll start with the word beginnings and then go through the endings, and then we'll discuss how they interact with other parts of Esperanto. And I'll be giving examples along the way. Key is your question words. All of your question words like what and who and what kind and where and how and why and when and how much and whose, belonging to who. Those are all going to start with ki, K-I. The answer to ki questions could be T, that. So it can be that as, a noun, or that as an adjective, like that one, or that person, or that kind, tia, or that place, there, in that way, for that reason, at that time, then, that amount, or that person's. Those are all going to be T-I words. If it just starts with a plain old I, E, that's going to be some. So, something, someone, some kind, somewhere, in some way, for some reason, at some time, some amount, or just someone's. All of those will start with E, which is in English the letter I. Chi will be every, or all, or each. So, everything, and as an adjective, each or every, or just the word everyone. and every kind, everywhere, in every way, for every reason, and at every time, always, every amount of she words belonging to everyone, she, yes, everyone's she words will always mean every, or all, or each. Neni, you might recognize that little ne there as meaning no. Neni means no. So, nothing, no thing, no one, no kind, nowhere, in no way, for no reason, at no time, never, no amount, none, and no ones are all going to start with neni. Now, to go into a little more detail about the word endings. Words that end in O are going to be just a generic noun, a thing. So, kio is what, and tio is that as a noun, that. And io is something. Chio is everything. Nenio is no thing, nothing. U is going to be an adjective, like specific instance of something. So if you're asking which chair or which person, who, that would be kiu. When I was first learning Esperanto, I got confused a lot between the O correlatives and the U correlatives. The difference I discovered is if it ends in O, it's a noun. If it ends in U, then it's an adjective. If they don't tell you what noun the adjective is describing, like which chair, which is technically an adjective describing the chair. It's a question adjective in that case. Or tu might be easier. That chair. In that case, that is describing the chair. It's an adjective describing the chair. And if you don't list a noun like chair to say what the tu or the kiu is about, then it'll be assumed that the noun is person, which is why you'll see on that chart that I had listed, kiu can mean who, what person, and tu can mean that person, or else it could be that chair if you're saying tu chair, tu seggio, or some chair or someone. If it doesn't say a noun, again you assume it's a person is the noun. So some person is someone. Every person is everyone. Or chiu could be each. Chiu will also sometimes be plural. If it's plural, it means every. If it's singular, it means each. The difference there is each kind of implies like a one at a time thing or individually, whereas every is more of an all at once in a group. So it's the difference between taking each dog out for a walk and taking every dog out for a walk. And then there is neniu, which can be, I took no dogs out for a walk, or it could be no one, no person, if we don't specify what the noun is. Correlatives that end in a are going to be about a kind or type or quality. So, kia is what kind, and tia is that kind. Ia is some kind. Chia is every kind. Nenia is no kind. Correlatives are about place. So, kie, what place, is where. Tie, that place, is there. Ie, some place, is somewhere. Chie, every place, is everywhere. Nenie, no place, is nowhere. Now, I'm going to pause here and remind you of this little accusative case, the letter N. All of these words we've talked about so far that end in vowels can have the letter N at the end of them. And this is where, like, the correlatives is where the N's get really confusing, because in English we're used to just word order saying whether this is a question or not. And you just assume that if I say, which is that, or who is that, then you can figure out it's a question because I'm saying, who is that, instead of that's who. But you can't necessarily do that in Esperanto because, again, remember in Esperanto, word order is much more flexible. So, you can't say, what are you looking at? Or, what do you see? Kion vi vidas. You have to have that N at the end to show that vi is the one doing the seeing, you, and kion is what's receiving the seeing. If you say kio vi vidas and don't put that N on there, then it's not going to be clear to people whether you're asking, what do you see, or asking, what sees you? Which is a much creepier question, and I'd much rather know that we're talking about, what do I see? Another way this will get a little bit tricky is with the correlatives, place. I mentioned in lesson 1 that sometimes adverbs will take the accusative N if you're talking about where someone's going. I go left, or I'm going left. Left is technically an adverb because it's describing how I'm going. It's describing my going. But it's also the direct object of going. It is receiving the action of my going. Left is. And similarly, if you ask, where are you going? You need to clarify that it's you doing the going, vi, and by saying kien vi iras. Because that way people see the N at the end of kie, and they know that tien is not what's doing the going, it's what's receiving the going, it's where you're going. And you can say, mi iras tien, I'm going there. Again, you have to have that N at the end of it so that they know that tie is what's receiving the going, not what's doing the going, because it makes more sense that way. But again, you will only have to worry about the accusative N at the end of the correlatives which have vowels at the end. Some of them, like el, which talks about a manner or a method or a way of doing something, does not end with a vowel, so it does not ever need to be accusative. So it's, again, el is for manner, method, or way. So what way are you doing this? What manner is how? And you could answer TL, in that manner, by that method, thus. Or EL, somehow, in some way. Or CL, in every way. Or NEL, in no way. Then you have all. Now, again, I'm going to pause real quick and remind us all that we need to work on our pronunciation. Now, because this is an online thing, we haven't worked a whole lot on pronunciation, but I know that we English speakers, in some places more than others, have a tendency to sort of demote all of our vowels to an sound. And if you say Kiel, then I can't tell if you're asking Kiel, how, or if you're asking Kial, why. So we need to work on that pronunciation, particularly when it comes to the correlatives, because you can get confused so fast by kind of blurring your vowel sounds together. So, all, back to the correlatives, all correlatives will be referring to a reason. So, kial is what reason, why. Tial is for that reason. Ial is for some reason. Chial is for every reason. Nenial is for no reason. No reason at all. Correlatives, am, are going to refer to time. So, kiam is at what time, when. Tiam is at that time, then. Iam is at some time. Shiam is at every time, always. Neniam is at no time, never. Om, O-M, refers to an amount. So, kiom is how much. Tiom is that much, that amount. Eom is some amount. Shiom is every amount, all of it. And neniom is no amount, none. Then we have S, lastly. ES. S correlatives will be referring to ownership. So, ties is whose, belonging to who. Ts is that person's, belonging to that person. Es is someone's, belonging to someone. Ches is everyone's, belonging to everyone. And nenies is no one's, belonging to no one. And those are all of the correlatives. That is 45 new words that you can learn by remembering just 14 little pieces, which is again part of the beauty and efficiency of Esperanto. And that's 45 new words you can learn, and a lot of them don't even exist as a single word in English. One of the Esperantists that I look up to told me that he felt like he was really starting to get the hang of this new language when he started noticing that he could say things in Esperanto that he couldn't say in his first language, which was English. And it's a really fun moment when you realize that there are things you can say in this new language that you're learning that you just couldn't quite say in your native language. And it's really good to feel like you're getting there, you know? But we're not done. But wait, there's more. We have these two lovely little particles, chi and ein. These words will almost always appear as their own separate word, with no prefixes, no suffixes. They are words all by themselves. You don't even just have to add a grammatical ending when you're putting it with these correlatives. Chi is a word that denotes proximity. It makes it a little bit more immediate. So, if tio is that, then chi tio or tio chi is this. If tie is in that place, there, then chi tie or tie chi is in this place, here. If tiam is at that time, then chi tiam or tiam chi is at this time, now. You can also do that with the chi correlatives. So, chio is everything. Chio chi or chi chio is everything here. Chiyu is everyone, or all specific instances of something. In this case, we'll say all people, everyone. Chiyu chi is everyone here, all of us. Chi can also be used with words that are not correlatives. For example, nokto, N-O-K-T-O, is the Esperanto word for night, like nighttime. And nokte, which is N-O-K-T-E, remember the E at the end of it makes it an adverb, so nokte is nightly. Chi nokte, again, adds that sense of proximity and makes it tonight. Or chi matene is this morning instead of just in the morning. Chi, when it's used with correlatives, can be used, as you saw, before or after the correlative. When it's used with other words that are not correlatives, you will pretty much always use it before the other word. Ein is always going to be used after a correlative, and instead of just defining it by itself, I'm going to give you some examples. Kio is what thing, what. Kio ein is what ever. And kia is what kind, or let's see here. Yeah, we'll go with ia here. What, or some kind. Ia ein is any kind. Kia ein would be what kind soever, whatsoever kind, whatever kind, I suppose. Kiam is when. Kiam ein is whenever. Iam is sometime. Iam ein is anytime. It's one of those particles. Ein is one of those little words that it's really hard to just give a straight translation. The translations I've seen are something like dash ever, like whatever, whenever, however. But that's only when it's with the K, the ki, or the chi correlatives. So, chiam is always, chiam ein is always whatsoever, at any time whatsoever. Chio is everything. Chio ein is everything whatsoever. But io ein, where io is something, io ein is anything. The only time I've ever seen ein used without a correlative right before it is I have seen the word einer, where someone took the word ein and made it an adjective meaning any. But 99.9% of the time that the word ein is involved, it's come immediately after a correlative. And that's our lesson for this week. You've actually probably learned more words this week than you have the entire 2 weeks before that, but it's still less to memorize, because that's, again, the beauty and the joy of correlatives, is they are just so dang efficient. I will, as usual, be posting a quiz and a just for fun activity on uReddit, on our class page, and on our class subreddit at reddit.com/r/Esperanto101. And those will be just for extra practice. If you have any questions, you can private message me on either of those sites. And if you do choose to fill out the quiz and get that extra practice that way, I can also help you out. I will be sending out a private message in response to everyone who takes the quiz and letting you know just how you did, and if you missed anything, then I'll try to explain a little bit better about how that particular thing works and why it works the way it does. So, with that, Have a lovely day and enjoy your correlatives.